Originating from the lands of Europe, Euchre is derived from a game that is known as Junkerspiel due to the fact that the two trump cards are jacks. It eventually spread to the United States and Canada through German migration to North America. Although it saw its heyday in the 1800s, it remains popular in Canada, New Zealand, the Midwest area of the United States, and Cornwall and English West Country in the United Kingdom. It is also possible that from this game that led Americans to introduce the Joker to the deck in order to act as the best bower during gameplay. Greetings and welcome to Checkpoint Gaming. For this episode, we will be going over how to play the game Euchre. With Euchre, it is a trick-taking game where trump cards are in play. It is best played with 4 players, where these players will pair off in teams of 2. With a deck, use a standard 52 card deck as a base, and then construct a new deck based upon how big you wish the deck to be. With a 32 card deck, it consists of the ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, and 7 of each suit. With a 28 card deck, we win all the 7s from the aforementioned list. And with the 24 card deck, we'll win all of these 7s and 8s from the aforementioned list. The game's objective is to have the first team to score 5, 7, or 10 points, with this score being determined before play begins. There is also no win by 2 or having to score the exact number in order to win. Just the first team to reach the agreed upon number will win. It is worth noting that when a team takes 3 tricks, it is known as Euchre. But when a team wins all 5 tricks, then they perform a march. When it comes to the highest trump, it is the jack of the trump suit, and it's called the right bower. The second highest trump is the jack of the offsuit, as is the same color, and it's called the left bower. It is worth noting that with the left bower, it counts as belonging to the trump suit. So if the left bower suit is played as the lead suit, then the left bower is not required to be played. With the remaining trumps, along with the plain suits, they are ranked as follows from highest to lowest: ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, and 7. If a joker has been added to the deck, then it will act as the highest trump card, and it's called the best bower. In most games of Euchre, points are scored with each game round seeing the following points be scored. With a team that declared trump, if it takes 3 or 4 tricks, and they have scored 1 point, well if they take all 5 tricks, then they will score 2 points. But if the other team takes 3 or 4 tricks, then they will score 2 points, while if they take all 5 tricks, then they will score 4 points. If a player from the team that declared trump decides to go it alone, and they take 3 or 4 tricks, then they will receive 2 points. And if they take all 5 tricks, then they will score 4 points. But if a player from the other team decides to go it alone, and they take 3 or 4 tricks, then they will score 4 points. And if they take all 5 tricks, then they will receive 5 points. Using the deck that was addressed earlier, shuffle it, followed by spreading it out face down. From there, the players will draw a single card in order to determine who will be partners and who will deal first. The 2 players who drew the 2 lowest cards will team up, while the 2 players who drew the highest cards will team up. From there, the partners will sit opposite from each other. In addition to this, the player who drew the lowest card will deal first. With a draw, the cards are ranked as follows from highest to lowest: king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, 7, and ace. If players draw cards that are of equal value, then they will have to draw again. When it comes to that of shuffling, the dealer will have the right to shuffle last. The cutting of the deck is done by the player found to the dealer's right. And when cutting the deck, there will have to be at least 4 cards found in each packet. When dealing out the cards, it is done in a clockwise manner, starting with the player found to the player's left, where each player will receive a maximum of 5 cards. When dealing out the cards, the dealer may choose to deal 3 at a time during the first round, followed by dealing 2 cards at a time during the second round. The dealer can also choose to deal the amount in sets of 2 and sets of 3 if they so wish. The third option is to deal 3 cards to the first player, 2 cards to the second player, 3 cards to the third player, and 2 cards to the fourth player in the first round, and then 2 cards to the first player, 3 cards to the second player, 2 cards to the third player, and 3 cards to the fourth player in the second round. But regardless of what the dealer decides, they will have to adhere to the distribution method that they decided upon. With the remaining cards that aren't dealt to the players, they are known as the kitty. And if a misdeal occurs, the dealer will forfeit the deal, and the next player in line will become the dealer. Regarding each future deal, the dealing responsibility will be passed to the player found to the dealer's left. And after each deal, each player is to make sure that they receive 5 cards. If not, then the dealer's responsibility are to be passed to the next player. But if each player has received 5 cards, then the dealer will flip over the top card to the kitty. It is also possible for a player to try and seal the deal. This is done by said player picking up the deck after finishing the hand as if they were the player who was supposed to deal next. If the stealing player gets away with it, they will deal normally. But if they get caught, then the deal will go back to the player who was supposed to deal, who will go about dealing normally. There is no penalty for getting caught trying to steal. It just returns to the player who was supposed to deal next in the turn order. The steal just needs to be caught before the top card and the kitty gets flipped. Otherwise, it's legal. A variant of stealing occurs when the player successfully steals the partner's deal, which will grant the team an additional point in addition to retaining the deal. After dealing out the cards, the dealer will place the remaining card and then sit on the table, followed by turning the top card face up. If this card is accepted as a trump card by any player, then the dealer may choose to exchange the face-up card with another card that is found in their hand. The dealer will signify this decision by placing the discard face down underneath the pack. From there, the 4 extra cards are to be put out of play. And with the team that determine the trump suit are known as the attackers or the makers, while the other team is known as the defenders. Unless playing with the joker and it is flipped, there will be a round where the players will decide which suit will be the trump suit. But if a joker is flipped during this process, the dealer's team will automatically become the attackers, and the dealer will have to name a trump suit before looking at their hand. Starting with the player on the dealer's left, each player, in turn, will decide if they want to pass or accept the face-up card as a trump card, moving in a clockwise direction. If the player to the dealer's left passes on the card, then said player will say pass, leaving the decision up to the next player in turn. One of the dealer's opponents can accept it as trump by saying, I ordered it up, or just up, while the dealer's partner can accept it by saying, I assist. But if the dealer accepts it, then they will perform their discard, which is known as taking it up. The dealer can also signify their refusal by removing the face-up card from the top of the deck and place it partially under the deck, keeping it face-up. This is known as turning it down. If all four of the players decide to pass on the first round, then each player, in turn, will have the option of passing again or naming the trump suit, starting with the player found to the dealer's left. But with that said, the rejected suit cannot be named as the trump suit. When declaring the other suit of the same color as the rejected suit, it is known as making it next. But if declaring a suit of the opposing color, then it is known as crossing it. But if all four of the players pass again during the second round, then all of the cards that are gathered together and shuffled have a next deal in line deal. When the trump suit has been fixed, then play will begin. And when a player accepts a suit as being trump, this aforementioned process will come to an end. It is possible for the player who has fixed the trump suit to believe it will be to their team's advantage to play without the help of the partner's hand. In order to exercise this option, the player will have to declare alone at the time of making the trump. From there, the player's partner will place their cards face down and will not participate in play. When it comes to that, the opening lead is made by the player found to the dealer's left. But if that player's partner is playing alone, then the opening lead is made by the player found across from the dealer. The lead card can be any card of that player's choosing. From there, each player will have to follow the lead card's suit, if possible, in a clockwise manner. But if the player is unable to follow the suit, then they can play a trump or discard any card. When winning a trick, it is done by playing the highest value card of the suit that was led, or by the highest trump card that was played. From there, the winner of the trick will lead the next hand. This process will repeat until 5 hands have been played. When a team that makes trump wins 3 or 4 tricks, then they will score 1 point. But if they win 5 tricks, they will score 2 points. When the lone hand wins 3 or 4 tricks, then it will score 1 point. But if it wins 5 tricks, it will score 4 points. And if a team or lone hand gets euchred, then the opposing team will score 2 points. At this point, it is worth touching upon an action that is known as crossboarding. With crossboarding, it is an action of signaling one's partner, and it is illegal. If this occurs, then the crossboarding team is punished by having 2 points awarded to the other team. When playing informally, or when teaching new players, a single warning is allowed to be given to each player about crossboarding. With keeping track of scoring, there are a few options available for the players to use. The first option is to use 2 2s and 2 3s, where each team uses the same suit as scoring card, with each set of scorecards consisting of opposing colors. The second option is to have one team use a red 4 and 6, hearts or diamonds, and the other team uses a black 4 and 6, clubs or spades. The third option is to have each team use 2 5 of the same color, one placed at the top of the other. Initially, the top card is placed face down, while the bottom card is placed face up. From there, the top card will be moved, thus progressively revealing the pips found on the bottom card as the team scores points. With each pip that is revealed, it represents a single point, and after a team has scored 5 points, the top card gets to be flipped over, face up, and placed underneath the other card. If the team scores additional points, the pips of the new bottom card are revealed, with each pip on the bottom card being added to the pips found upon the top card, representing the new score of the team. The fourth option is to use the V method, which consists of the 2 and 3 cards. At first, the 2 is placed face up, and 3 is placed face down atop of the 2. When scoring the first point, one pip found upon the 2 is displayed from underneath the 3. When scoring the second point, place the 2 face up atop of the 3, which is placed face down. When scoring the third point, place the 3 face up atop of the 2, which is placed face up. When scoring the fourth point, have one pip found upon the 2 displayed from underneath the 3. During this whole process, keep the cards straight. With the scoring of 5 points, arrange both cards face down in a V shape representing the Roman numeral 5. With a scoring of 6 points, have the cards remain in a V shape with the 2 face up and a single pip displayed while underneath the face down 3. With a scoring of 7 points, have the cards remain in a V shape with the 2 face up and atop of the 3, while the 3 remains face down. With a scoring of 8 points, have the cards remain in a V shape with the 3 face up and atop of the 2, while the 2 is placed face down. And with a scoring of 9 points, have the cards remain in the V shape with the 3 card face up and placed atop of the 2, where the 2 is placed face up with a single pip with the 2 being shown. The fifth option is to use lower valued cards that are not being used during the game. When the face value of one of these cards is equal to the score, then just use that given card. but when the score falls outside the value of one of these cards, then place one of the threes or a 4 card face up with another card on top of it, face down, covering most of the fifth except for the fifth that represent the score. And the sixth option is to just use pen and paper to keep track of the score. With the basics now taken care of, let's take a look at a few variants to the game. It is worth noting that there are several variants available to this game, and we'll be looking at just some of them here. So if a variant of Euchre doesn't appear in this episode, feel free to share it with us along with its rules. There's also a variant known as Railroad Euchre, which is a sped-up version of the game meant to be played amongst commuters. With a 33 card deck, it is a currency version, and it consists of the ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, and 7 of each suit, plus a joker. In addition to this, when a joker is turned face up, the dealer is required to name the suit as well as to pick it up and play. But the dealer can still choose either play alone or with their partner. Traditionally, the ace of spades is known as the death card, regardless of the trump suit, and it shouldn't be led on the first trick unless defending against a lone attacker. With ace no face, if a player is dealt a hand that consists of any number of aces but no face cards, then they can lay their hand on the table and say ace no face. Once doing this, the situation is considered to be a misdeal, and all the cards will be gathered together and redealt. With Agrom, it is a Nigerian version of Euchre, where the deck consists of the ace, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3 of each suit, with aces being high and 3s being low. The player that is found to the dealer's left will begin with the first lead card. From there, go clockwise with the players trying to follow suit with a higher ranked card in order to win the trick. But if they are unable to follow suit, then they can play any card they wish. The card that isn't in the lead suit isn't ranked. And since the last trick only matters in Agrom, the winner of the last trick will win the entire game, regardless of how many tricks another player might have won. With British Euchre is a variant of the 24 card deck where a 25th card is added and consists of either 2 of spades or a joker. The 25th card is known as the Benny, or bird in Australia, and it outranks all of the other cards. If the Benny is flipped when signed upon the trump, then the dealer's team has been assumed to have declared trump. From there, the dealer will place the Benny with 1 card from their hand. With Buck Euchre, it is a variant that is played without the use of teams. At the start of the game, each player will possess 25 points with the aim of getting down to 0, where tricks will subtract points from their score. With the taking of 1 trick, it will subtract 1 point of the player's score, and if the attacker wins 3 tricks, it will subtract 3 points from their score, while the defenders will add 3 points to theirs. But if the attacker fails to take at least 3 tricks, they'll add 5 points to the score. Each player will also aim to take at least 1 trick during the game. Otherwise, 5 points are to be added to their score. And if a player receives a march, then they will immediately win the game. If all the players pass when it comes to declaring trump, there will be no trump in the game and there will be no attacker. The player also has the option to drop out for a round after the cards have been dealt. This will save them from the 1 trick minimum, but will also prohibit them from subtracting any points. With Farmer's Hand, which is also known as going under or bottoms, if a player is dealt only 9s and 10s when using a deck that consists of 9 through aces, then said player can throw in their hand and demand a redeal. This also extends to only being dealt 8s and 9s with an 8 through ace deck and 7s and 8s with a 7 through ace deck. But since the dealer will pick up the card, the kitty, the dealer is not allowed to use this option. A variant to this is when a player is dealt at least 3 cards with the same numerical value from their respective deck, said player can exchange these cards with 3 random cards for the kitty. This will have to be done before trump suit has been selected. With Haas, it is constructed from 2 decks and consists of only aces and face cards. When it comes to that of dealing and play, it moves in a clockwise direction with 8 cards being dealt to each player. Starting with the player found at the dealer's left, there is 1 round of betting where the players bid about the number of tricks that they believe their team can make, with minimum bid being that of 4. With bidding, the player will have to either outbid the previous bid or to pass. The highest bidder will win the auction and will lead the first trick, typically with the right bower. The suit of the lead card is known as the called suit and it will indicate the trump suit. The highest card, they are the trump jacks, the jacks of the same color, aces, kings, and then queens. With the other suits, the order consists of aces, kings, queens, and jacks. Players will have to follow suit if they're able to. If not, then they can play any card. The player who wants to play alone with the aim of taking all 8 tricks will bid Haas. This will win the auction, followed by the player having to choose to swap 2 cards with the partner before play begins. With no ace, no face, no trump, after trump has been declared, if a player is dealt a hand that lacks any aces, face cards, or the suit that is acting as a trump suit, then the player can reveal the hand before any cards have been played and say no ace, no face, no trump. Upon doing this, all the players are to throw in their hand and the cards are redealt. With no trump, it occurs after the first round when the key's top card has been flipped and has been turned down. When this occurs, no trump can be called, which causes ensuing tricks to be played without any trump cards, and the jacks have no special significance in the normal deck order, ace being the high value card. With Pepper, which is also known as Big Euchre, it follows the standard rules for Euchre with the following exceptions. First, players will receive 6 cards instead of 5, and the team wins when they reach 30 points. Second, if a team bids and wins all the tricks in a given round, then they will receive 20 points, which is known as Big Pepper. All the other rules will remain the same. With Railroad Euchre, it sees that the 9 is removed from the deck and up to 4 bennies being added to it. It consists of 1 or both jokers and 1 or both 2s. In its simplest form, only 1 benny is used and it plays the same as British Euchre. When it comes to the ranking of the bennies, they trump the right power regardless of what the trump suit is, with the 2s outranking the jokers. If both jokers are being used, then the players will need to decide how to establish the high and low jokers. The most common version of Railroad Euchre is to use 2 or 3 bennies in the deck. With the Bobson rules, when the team wins all 5 tricks, regardless if it is done as a team or going alone, then we choose to reduce the opponent's score by 2 or 4 respectively, instead of adding points to their score. In addition to this, if the player turns up a jack within the kitty, then they can choose to go it alone without seeing the rest of their hand. If all the tricks have been won through this blind loner hand, then 5 points are rewarded to the team instead of 4. But failure to win all of the tricks will result in the defenders to earn 1 point. With Screw the Dealer, which is also known as Stick the Dealer, it is when the dealer is unable to pass twice during the naming of the trump process. This will force the dealer to call something as trump, but they can still pass the first time around. The dealer is also unable to declare a misdeal. With that taken care of, let's take a look at variants of the game that consists of player counts other than 4. With 2-player Euchre, there are a few options available to choose from. The first option is to choose the dealer using a random method. The dealer will then deal out 8 cards to each player, with the remaining 3 cards being designated as the dummy hand. The player will then make the best 5-card hand that they can from their 8 cards, followed by discarding the remaining 3. Players can also go it alone if they wish not to use the dummy hand. The second option is to make a 24-card deck and take out the 2 sets of scorecards. From there, they'll have 5 cards each player as normal. Once that is done, the standard rules are to be implemented as normal. The third option is to play the dummy hand, which is done by dealing out a normal hand to each player along with a 3-card dummy hand. After a trump has been called, each player will pick up their given dummy hand. Once picking up the dummy hand, each player will make their best 5-card hand from the given cards. However, players can still go it alone, which occurs when the calling player decides not to pick up their dummy hand. The fourth option is to play with a 12-card hand, where each player possesses 4 hidden cards. When constructing the deck, have it consist of 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, kings, and aces of each suit. When dealing out the cards, the dealer will place a card face down in front of the other players, followed by placing one in front of the dealer. This process continues until each player has a row of 4 face-down cards. From there, the dealer will deal out 1 face-up card on top of each face-down card, in the same manner of dealing as the face-down cards. When that is complete, the dealer will deal out 4 more cards to each player that will be picked up and held by each player in their hand. A variant of this is to play with an 11-card hand, where each player is dealt a 3-card hand with 4 sets of cards set up in the face-up and face-down manner just described. Another option is to have a 5-card hand with 3 sets of cards set up in the face-up and face-down manner just described. Once this has been completed, the non-dealer player will look at their hand, their 4 show hands, and their opponent's 4 show hands. From there, the player will bid how many tricks they think they can take, with a minimum bid being that of 7. From there, the dealer will decide if they wish to bid or if they will pass. The player made the highest bid will set the trump suit, followed by the non-dealer player going first. When playing these cards, players can use one from their hand or from their face-up cards. If a face-up card is played that possesses a face-down card underneath it, then the face-down card is immediately flipped over and will become eligible for play during the next trick. With the awarding and deducting of points, they can only occur for the number of tricks that were bid. So the point system looks like this: 1 point for 7 tricks, 2 points for 8 tricks, and so on, all the way up to 6 points for taking all 12 tricks. The player who bid the highest amount will gain set points if successful. However, they will lose those points if they fail. The first player to score 10 points will win the game. With a 3-player variant of Euchre, there are a few options available to choose from. The first option is known as Canadian, where 4 cards are dealt out normally. From there, the top card of the kitty, that's flipped face up, will automatically become the trump suit. Starting from the dealer's left, the players can choose to exchange their hand for the dummy hand, with the discarded hand then becoming the new dummy hand. The next player will then get to decide if they wish to exchange their hand. After this process reaches the dealer, and the dealer decides to either keep or exchange their hand, the dealer will pick up the trump card and play will begin as normal. But if wanting to play in the Canadian rules with 4 players, then the dealer's partner will have to go it alone. The second option is known as Cutthroat Euchre. The normal rules still apply, with the following exception. The player who calls trump will have to play alone against the other 2 players. When it comes to that of scoring, each player will possess separate scorecards. If the player who calls trump takes 3 or 4 tricks, then they will get 1 point. But if the player takes all 5 tricks, they will take 3 points instead of 2. If the player who called trump gets euchred, then the other 2 players will score 2 points. And as usual, the first player to reach the agreed upon number of points will win. There are also 2 variants to Cutthroat Euchre. The first variant is to remove all the 9s in the deck. The second variant is known as Countdown, where the players start off with 300 or 500 points, and the first player to reach 0 will win. Since starting points are so high, the points that are obtained are inflated. With the player that calls trump, they will lose 10 points if they take 3 or 4 tricks, 50 points if they take all 5 tricks, and the defenders will each lose 20 points if they take 3 or more tricks. The third option is known as Euchre, which consists of a 24-card deck, and it consists of the 10s, jacks, queens, kings, and aces of each suit. The dealing and bidding process occurs normally, but the caller has the option of going with a partner or going it alone. Scoring occurs as normal, with play typically going to 15 points. The fourth option is known as Ghost Player, which consists of 4 hands of 5 cards each being dealt with the extra hand going to the Ghost Player. Moving in a clockwise direction, the players can choose to swap their hand with the hand of the Ghost Player. Once this has been completed, the top card of the kitty is turned over and both the bidding process and play will begin as normal. If the attacker keeps the hand that they were dealt, then they'll get 2 points for taking 3 or 4 tricks and 4 points for taking 5 tricks. But if the attacker switches hands, then they will only receive 1 point for winning the majority of the tricks. With the defenders, they earn 1 point for each taking 3 or 4 tricks and 2 points for taking all 5 tricks. The fifth option is known as Missing Man, also known as George's Hand. It plays similar to that of a traditional 4-player game of Euchre. The 5-card Euchre hand is dealt out as normal and done 4 times with the 4th hand representing the dummy hand. From there, the top card of the main deck is turned face up, and the trump suit is called out in the normal manner. But with that said, either of the players who didn't call trump have the option of exchanging their hand with a dummy hand. But if a trump suit isn't determined within the first 2 rounds of bidding, then the dealer can either call the suit as long as it's not the upturned card from the deck, or pick up the dummy hand and call any suit they wish, including the upturned card from the deck. From there, play progresses as normal, with the attacker scoring 1 point for taking 3 or 4 tricks, 2 points for taking all 5 tricks, and 4 points for calling loner. But if the attacker fails to win the bid, then the other 2 players will score 1 point each. The 6th option is known as Shooter, where 3 8-card hands are dealt. From there, each player will bid to see who will call trump, where the minimum bid is that of 3 tricks. The winner of the contract will get to determine the trump suit and can choose to select no trump. If selecting no trump, then they will have to say so, will have aces behind, and all the jacks treated as off-trump colored jacks. With each trick a player wins, they will score 1 point. But if the attacker fails to achieve their contract, then they will lose that number of points. The player who bids all 8 tricks is known as a shooter and will receive 4 extra points if they are successful. The first player to score 31 points will win the game. The 7th option is to play with a dummy hand, where 4 cards are dealt out with the 4th hand acting as a dummy hand. After determining the trump suit, the attacker will pick up the dummy hand and make the best 5-card hand for themselves out of the 10 cards they hold. But with that said, the attacker can choose to go alone by not picking up the dummy hand. From there, the attacker will play alone against the other 2 players who will play as a team. The attacker will score 1 point for winning the hand, 2 points for taking all 5 of the tricks, or 4 points for taking all 5 of the tricks while going in alone. Variants of this option can limit the size or utility of the dummy hand, with variants including the use of a 3-card dummy hand, or the attacker randomly choosing 3 cards from the dummy hand and making the best hand out of the 8 cards they possess. Another variant is known as Sneaky Steve, where the dummy hand is known as Steve. After determining the trump suit, the dummy hand being either used or discarded, the player who possesses the 9 of diamonds, which is known as Sneaky Steve, can choose to exchange the 9 diamonds for a random card from the bottom 3 cards down in the kitty, excluding the upturned card or a card that was exchanged for it. From there, play will progress as normal. The 8th option is known as Euchre, where only 3 suits are used and Joker acts at the left bower regardless of the drawn suit. The dealer has the option to go alone during the first round of bidding by causing the top card to be discarded and the remaining 4 cards down in the kitty being dealt to the dealer's opponents. With these cards, the defenders will make their best 5-card hand from the 7 cards that they were dealt. When it comes to that of scoring, taking 3 tricks is a clear win and will grant 2 points, while the 2-2 tie will award the tie players 1 point each. With the attacker, they have a -1 penalty, so calling and losing will result in them taking -1 point, calling and tying will result in no points being granted, and calling and winning will result in 1 point being awarded. The 9th option is known as 3-handed Euchre and is played with a 24-card deck and players playing alone instead of being on teams. Each player plays to 10 points and will keep their own score. 7 cards are to be dealt to each player, which will leave 3 cards in the kitty, with the top card being turned face up. The player who makes trump is known as the attacker, and though the other 2 players are the defenders, they will still compete against each other for their tricks. If the attacker takes 4 tricks, they will score 1 point. But if they take 6 tricks, then they will score 2 points, and if they take all 7 tricks, then they will score 4 points. But if the attacker fails to take 4 tricks, then they are euchred. The defender who takes the most tricks will then receive 2 points, while if both defenders take an equal number of tricks, then each defender will get 1 point. With a 5-player variant of euchre, the see the game's deck consists of the ace, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, and 8 of each suit, along with a pair of 2s. But with that said, the 2s can be replaced with 2 jokers. With the 2s or jokers, they're the highest trump card, regardless of what suit is called. From there, 5 cards are dealt to each player, and the top card from the kitty is flipped. If none of the other players determine the trump suit, then the dealer is tasked with doing so. In the situation where the top card is a 2 or joker, the dealer will be unable to look at their hand for the first round of bidding where any suit is able to be called. Once the trump suit has been determined, the attacker can choose to select a partner by naming a card other than that of a 2 or a joker, or they can choose to go it alone. If naming a card, then the player who is holding the named card will become the attacker's partner, though this will not be revealed until the named card is revealed. With scoring, it is done normally. There will also be no additional benefits if the attacker wins all 5 of the trick when not going alone, but the named card is found in the kitty. What this means is that going alone has to be intentional. The game will come to an end once a player reaches 10 or more points while also holding at least a 1-point lead over all of the other players. With the 6-player variant of Euchre, there are a few options available to choose from. The first option is to use a 32-card deck which consists of the Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9, 8, and 7 of each suit, with the kitty consisting of just 2 cards. From there, players break off into 3 teams of 2 players each who will sit across from each other. If the defender's Euchre the attacking team, then both defending teams will score 2 points. The first team that reaches a specified number of points will be deemed the winner. The second option is to use a 34-card deck which consists of the Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9, 8, and 7 of each suit, plus 2 jokers which count as the highest and second highest trumps. The sixth option is to use a 6-suit deck where the players will break off into 3 teams of 2 players each who will sit across from each other. With the deck, it consists of 3 red suits and 3 black suits, so that there is 1 right bower and 2 left bowers, with the first left bower being played outranking the second left bower. Bidding, play, and scoring are all printed normally, with some additional rules when it comes to have ties. If the attackers and one of the defenders will take 2 tricks, then each team will score 1 point. If the 2 defenders each take 2 or 3 tricks, then each team will score 2 points. The first team to the agreed number of points will win the game. The fourth option is to use a double deck with the players breaking off into 2 teams of 3 players each who will sit across from each other. When constructing the deck, use 2 24-card decks. If the same card is played twice during the trick, then the card that was played first counts as the highest card. Each player will be dealt 8 cards, followed by each player bidding on how many tricks that they will get, with the minimum being 1 and the winner calling trump. The attacker can go alone as normal as a big shooter, or can choose to be a little shooter by receiving the best card from each teammate. A team will score 1 point for every trick that they win. If a team fails to make its bid, they won't receive any points. They will also lose points as equal to the value of their bid. If a team wins all 8 tricks, then they will score 4 points as a little shooter and 16 points as a big shooter. In order to win the game, a team will need to be first score 22 points at the end of a turn when that team has called trump, or 34 points if they haven't. The fifth option is Triple Wild Deck, where the players break off into 2 teams of 3 players each who will sit across from each other. The deck consists of the Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9, and 8 of each suit, along with the 4, 3, and 2 of spades, which are the highest trump cards in the order just listed. After dealing out the cards to the players, there should be a single card left which is served as the top card for bidding. The game is played to 15 points, and teams score 3 points for euchres and 5 points for lone calls. The sixth option consists of uneven teams. The deck consists of the Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9, and 8 of each suit. The rules for 5-handed euchre can be used for a 6-card hand by adding the 7s into the deck. The team that makes trump will typically consist of 2 a defending team of 4. With Call Ace Euchre, it is a variant of 4 to 6 players which follows the basic rules with the following exceptions. Before play begins, the attacker will name any suit as being trump, with the holder of the highest card of said suit becoming the dealer's silent partner, which will only be revealed through play. The attacker can also choose to play alone and can be their own partner unwittingly. Each team member will score the points for their side as a whole, and if the absolute highest card of the trump suit isn't dealt, then the highest played trump card will count as such. With Auction Euchre, it consists of 5, 6, or 7 players with a 3-card widow, with the widow will have his cards dealt face down. In turn, each player will have a single opportunity to bid up to 3 tricks using a named trump or overcall a previous bid. With bid of 5, is overcalled by a bid of 8, and that is overcalled by a bid of 15. Before play begins, the player that made trump will take the widow and discard any 3 cards from the hand and place them face down unless the bid was 15, and unless the player is playing alone, they will call for an ally by naming a specific card that is not found in their hand. The holder of that card will become the silent partner, in fact that will only be revealed during play. There is also a variant that is played between 3 to 10 players that is known as Call Partner, and it uses a deck that has been adjusted so that the kitty will have 5 cards or less in it after a 5-card hand has been dealt to each player. After dealing out the hands, the top card of the kitty is turned face up, and the brain process will begin as normal. With the player who calls trump, they can call for a partner by naming a given card. The player who possesses this card will become the attacker's partner, but this fact won't be revealed until the given card is played. The attacker can also choose to go alone. When it comes to that of scoring, it is done normally. So with that said, that is what you need to know in order to play Euchre. If you liked this episode, feel free to give it a like, and if you want to stay up to date on any future episodes we upload, go ahead and subscribe. You can also support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, patreon.com/checkpointgaming. See you in the next episode, and happy gaming.